You know, Lily, I'm growing quite used to madam, rather than my lady. We'll never get Preswick to change, but if it isn't too difficult to remember, you may use madam when we are alone. Yes, madam. And you must make allowances for Preswick. He's been a butler for many years, and he did know about the secret compartment. Yes, madam. So let us begin. Phil sat in one of the chairs and gestured for Lily to sit in the other. Classification and uses of fingerprints. Let us see what they are and what we did wrong the other night in the library. Phil opened the book, looked up. How well do you read, Lily? In which language, madam? English. Well enough, madam. Excellent. And one day Lily might actually drop a clue about who she was and why she was willing to serve as someone's lady's maid when she'd obviously been educated for more. Yes, well, the employment of fingerprints in many branches. She turned a few pages. Ah, here it is. Fingerprints, Part 1. The funeral was held the next day. An overcast sky and incipient rain exemplified everyone's feelings and boded no good. The funeral attire arrived early that morning, and when Phil met Bev at breakfast, the two of them looked as morose as the gray clouds gathering outside. Lord, I hope it doesn't rain, Bev said, pulling at the crepe ruching around her neck. I swear, whoever decided that a widow should be tortured for 2 years just because her no-good husband died should be shot. True, Phil said, thinking Bev looked rather tragically elegant in her funeral dress, but for the fact she was munching on a piece of toast and reading the Tribune. Well, the good news is, we won't have to put up with that annoying policeman anymore. They've taken the husband stealing Mildred into custody. For murder? Phil asked. For questioning in the death of Reginald Reynolds, and for not cooperating with the police. So there. Phil, who had just picked up the coffee pot, put it down again. They said death and not murder? Yes, though we all know she did it. Bev, no, we don't. And if they've only taken her into custody for not cooperating... She let the sentence trail off, hoping maybe Bev would take the hint. Alas, it was not to be. Well, I say she did it. Bev rattled the newspaper as she turned the page. Here's something much more interesting. Black hats are back in favor this season. I suppose I should be glad, seeing how I may be wearing them for some time. While Bev read aloud about the latest Paris fashions, Phil poured herself coffee and helped herself from the sideboard buffet. Daniel Sloane arrived a few minutes before 10 to accompany his daughter to the church in his closed carriage. Philomena followed with Freddie and Marguerite. The servants were conveyed in 2 carriages, Tuttle, Elmira, Preswick, and Lily, driven by Bentley, the head coachman. Cook and the lesser staff were crammed together in the second carriage, driven by an understableman. It began to rain almost the minute they entered the carriage. Good thing we didn't bring Reggie's touring car, Freddie said, and breathed out a chuckle. Marguerite shot him a fulminating look, reached in her bag, and brought out one of her peppermint candies, which she pushed into his hand. Looking sheepish, Freddie unwrapped it. It took some doing. It seemed to be stuck in the paper, but at last he popped the candy in his mouth and shoved the wrapper in his pocket. Marguerite scowled at the closed carriage window. Phil didn't blame Marguerite. She had gotten close enough to smell the liquor on Freddie's breath this morning, though she supposed he should be forgiven for a fortifier before his cousin's funeral. If it had been up to her, she would have had Tuttle serve cocktails to all before they piled into the carriages of the cortege. Have the police returned the automobile? Phil asked, risking Marguerite's further disapproval. So I've been told, I haven't seen it myself,